Alright, this is Matthew Wynn, and here's my presentation on human-computer interactions. Now, we gotta start off by defining what human-computer interaction is in the first place, in order to have it written down as the study of the connection between humans and computers and the technology involved in making that interaction happen. Now, what is that supposed to mean? Well, we humans use computers in our everyday lives, right? So, whether we have our phones or our laptops, different forms of technology, we have to input information in a way that the computer can understand it, and the computer has to output information in a way that we can understand it, right? And it does so through the use of interfaces. Now, we've had text-based user interfaces before, but that was more mainly in the older days of computers when, like the Apple II, I don't know. It's really old, so we don't really use that anymore. Nowadays we have more graphical user interface and voice user interface based tech, like our laptops, our phones, all that jazz. They all rely on graphical user interfaces and voice user interfaces. As you can see in this image right here, we use voice user interfaces for things like Siri, for example, basic search engines. So yeah, before we delve into the future, we have to go into the past and the present. Like I've said, most technology nowadays is based off of graphical interfaces instead of text-based interfaces, which are more the past thing. But the way we input information into a computer nowadays is more based off of mouse and keyboard. With our phones, it's more touch screens and buttons. That is, if your phone still has buttons, unlike the iPhone X. And for consoles, like on games, we have normal game controllers, or if you play PC, then mouse and keyboard. But enough of that. My presentation is mainly going to be focused on future hardware that is probably going to be used for human-computer interactions, and the first up is probably touch screens. Now, before we get into that, we have to explain how touch screens work in the first place. Now, touch screens vary across different forms of tech. Some use a form of light capture, like if it detects like light being refracted in different ways, then it'll input data and all that stuff. But no matter what, how it works is that it takes it takes like your finger and it takes like the X and Y position of the thing that's touching the screen, right? And it makes sure to treat it like as if it's a mouse down sort of function, and from there it can provide its functions. Yeah. Let's move on. Okay, so as touch screens, start growing, more and more non-obsolete. That's the word. As they start becoming more frequent, they're gonna start being used in more applicable situations, like the idea we have touch walls here, right? Now, touch walls aren't anything new. We've had them before in museums or learning institutions and that sort of thing. It's a way to present information in a way that's it's interactive. Most of these touch screens are multi-touch, which is actually pretty convenient, because if there are more than one person, if there's more than one person using it, then it means that it can provide different functions for each user. Now, what we're probably going to have is we're probably going to see a move towards entire walls and houses to entire touch walls, sort of like parlor walls in Fahrenheit 451. Entire screens filling up entire walls. Of course, touch walls aren't the only future application of touch screens that we might have in the future. We have future projected smartwatches. Now, touch technology can be, it's progressing in a new way in that people are trying to find ways to be able to control touching projections in order to input data into some form of software, or not software, hardware. Of course, this image that I have here it's obviously fake. There's no way something like a projector can fit into something that small just quite yet. But we might be seeing something like this in the future, or forget the keyboard on your laptop or computer. If you just have like a screen, then maybe in the future all that has to be done is to have a keyboard projected onto your desktop, right? It can be pretty convenient in certain applications. Alright, so moving on to voice recognition. Now, the image here pretty much sums up voice recognition pretty well. It takes in the voice, or the sound that it recognizes, it converts it through analog to digital conversion, and then it picks up patterns that maybe they can recognize certain words being spoken, and from that data collection it can perform certain actions. And of course, the most common function of voice recognition that we have today is these sort of it's a sort of move towards automated home, or these, I don't know what they call these, but the Google Home, Amazon Echo, and the Apple HomePod. These are just examples of things that use voice recognition. Of course, our phones also use voice recognition as well. It's already pretty widespread now that I think about it. But as things progress more and more over time, there's a chance that perhaps voice recognition it'll get better. It used to be that only 1,000 words could be recognized when voice recognition was first implemented in like 1976. But as it moved on, things started expanding, as all technology is supposed to do. So in the future, we might be seeing a movement towards home assistants. These are what these are called, home assistants. Home assistants that are more advanced, more capable, that are perhaps more similar to AI. AI can probably pick up on voice recognition easier once technology allows it to advance. And yeah, moving on to facial recognition cameras. This image here actually also pretty much sums up how facial recognition works. It takes the image of a person, right? It takes a certain part of their face and converts it to grayscale. It takes certain points on a person's face, like the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the computer puts a sophisticated algorithm, and they manage to get a general outline of the person's face, and then they can put it into an image that sort of looks like this. Now, we already have Face ID, right? It's pretty obvious that it's everywhere. We have Facebook uses it, in fact. iPhone X uses Face ID in order to help you unlock your phone. But its most common application is, law enforcement using it in order to recognize faces of, potential predators. Of course, this can always backfire, because who knows who's tracking your face, and who knows what's going to happen. Same kind of goes with fingerprints, which I should have mentioned that. Fingerprints with touchscreen technology, and faces with camera technology. These can be abused, like most technology, in the fashion that they can often be used to hack into your accounts, or who knows. In the future, security might be based off fingerprints or facial recognition. You never know. But that's just how some things have to go. Because what's better, something that can be less tracked, or a password that anybody could probably start guessing with any kind of algorithm? Who knows? But yeah, in the future, we're probably going to see a move towards better facial recognition. Home security systems probably would use them. Yeah. Okay, moving on to interactive holograms. Now, the idea that holograms are a thing, well, it's not very new. We've had holograms, it's the idea of them being interactive that's so alluring. Because achieving a hologram illusion isn't exactly the hardest thing to do. It just requires, simple optical illusions. But we're probably going to start seeing a move towards more AR functions, and by AR I mean augmented reality. If anyone's played Pokemon Go, then you know what I'm talking about by augmented reality. It basically places things that aren't really there, but it puts it in the environment that you're in, like with the Microsoft HoloLens over here. You see, you have overlays of Minecraft onto the real world that you can see. No, I know that the HoloLens isn't exactly new, but they're coming. I've read that they're coming out with a second model that's more based towards business applications instead of kind of games and stuff. But yeah, different forms of holograms are being developed, but a lot of it is being shown as AR in the form of like wearable tech. This one's really clever. I've read that I think Hyundai is developing AR windshields for cars so that drivers can have a better visual of things in front of the road, what to do. You see here in this image, they're tracking a car. It's very useful for real-world applications. And of course, it can aid us in everyday life. Say, if they develop contacts that can overlay AR onto the world, it can possibly help us with everyday life. Now, alright, moving on to game controllers, because I know a good amount of you guys are avid gamers, but yeah. Game controllers, they've stayed relatively the same over the course of, they've been around. This image here actually shows a phone being used to game. This is sort of a movement towards Microsoft / Xbox wanting to make gaming more of a mobile thing. But, I believe personally that games are going to start veering towards VR because virtual reality and augmented reality are probably two of the bigger things that we might want to look at. So it's all about the controls, right? And how you see it, but also B, how you can send inputs into your console or whatnot. So here we have a new type of controller for VR called the Knuckles. Now, this one I find it really clever, but it basically takes grip and it's attached to your hand so you can let it go freely, like shown in the GIF. But it detects grip on certain on the middle section of the controller here, and it does it so that individual fingers can actually be tracked. Of course, there's also the addition of the idea of having VR gloves. So instead of having to hold controllers that's just attached to your hands constantly, perhaps it'd be better tracking. And of course, there's a sort of it's camera-controlled VR controls, right? So it's kind of like the Kinect, which is kind of old technology, but it could be useful application. I mean, not just for video games even. This camera-based computer control can actually be a part of the feature as well, like just by doing hand or motion tracking. So yeah, all in all, the ways that humans and computers interact with each other, they're advancing pretty quickly, and we can only hope that in the near future we might actually have some cool tech to live by. And so yeah, that's my presentation. Thanks for watching.